There's no room.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, good to see you
Good
again.
to see you too.
You still, did you have a good vacation?
I did. It was great. It was so relaxing. Yeah. I was impressed with myself and I could relax.
You were able to tune it out?
There's never. Yeah. I think it was because it was so short. It was like, all right, relax. Let's do it.
I'm used to camping.
It's good. It's good. Busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is when it gets real.
This is the real now.
It's mostly it's very late.
Oh,
It's nice. It's hard enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How's it going on your end?
I have had a good week.
Yeah.
Just,
Yes.
dessert.
It's just.
If you were permission Tuesday, yesterday,
Yep.
and then this today, and then also it's all online stuff that we never make any prints.
Right.
I'm also trying to move over to print so it's long. That's the difficult thing. Yeah, media
Have your friends.
It's like oh really?
Hi. Good to see you. Glad to be here. How are you?
Where'd you see last Friday?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, I have to figure out.
Oh, cool. It's Robert Redford.
Kind of that. It was not.
What a marijuana references. Here's a simple time. What's up?
Are you? Yeah. I like the Panthers
Hi, how are you? Just want to introduce myself. I'm Jasmine.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Hi, how are you? Yeah, Jasmine, it's nice to meet you. Hi, how are you? Of course, yes. No,
ready for it to be over? You can show up a lot. Yeah.
but no.
I like this.
They're cool.
I know.
They're
How are you? It's good to see you.
Are you get to do this? Or, you know,
I didn't know what to say. In this it would be quite a zinger.
That means you left. But I think I'll just be in the back. You guys are- Sure, just.
I actually
Yeah.
You ready on the technology, Ms. Blake?
Sure are.
Okay. All right, everybody, welcome to Ferguson Auditorium on the AV Tech campus, 2016 Buncombe County Commissioners Forum. Just brief remarks. The 7-member Board of Commissioners creates policy, sets taxes, distributes funding, weighs in on other issues affecting Buncombe County, the most populous county in North Carolina. The chair of the board directs meetings. Members are elected to staggered 2- and 4-year terms, so only 5 of the 7 seats are involved in this election. We have 3 districts, District 1 in the center, 2 in the east, 3 in the west. Citizens of each district elect 2 board members. The entire county elects the chair. Our candidates for board are Chuck Archer and Brownie Newman. District 2 is Mike Fire, Nancy Niels Nelson. District 3, due to Miranda Rule's resignation, there are 2 District 3 seats. Bill Belcher and Ed Hay will compete for 1 seat, and David King and Robert Presley will compete for the other seat. This forum is for the candidates and for the voters. We want to give them a chance to deliver their platform and views, hoping for a cordial and informative evening. There's enough rancor out there. I think we got that covered. And so we're referencing this as a forum, not a debate. Candidates will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to introduce themselves, explain why they're running, and what they hope to accomplish. Following these intros, we have a series of questions put together by our staff. Each candidate will have 1 to 2 minutes to respond to each question. We'll try to give those in round robin order. And we have a name check rule in place, so if a candidate says something about another candidate, that candidate can respond. Any questions that don't get covered tonight, Emily Patrick, would you stand up?
I'm just going to do this because I have a computer in my lap. Hello!
She's doing the candidate profile, so there's any question you want to ask the candidates, you can relay that to her. And the candidates themselves will be available for about half an hour after we wrap up. This event is being live streamed on our website and live on Facebook. It'll be archived on our website through Election Day. And of course, there's tables in the lobby with campaign information. We hope to close the forum at 7:30, again, to allow the candidates half an hour to meet with constituents. And after that, there's football. So, what's that? There's 1 candidate who has already been elected, Jasmine Beach Ferrara. And we'll start the opening statements with a little introduction from her.
Good evening. My name is Jasmine Beach Ferrara. I'm a Democratic candidate for County Commission in District 1, and I'm running unopposed. I want to just briefly begin by thanking the Citizen Times for hosting this and thanking all of you for taking time out of your busy lives to participate this fully in local politics. I want just briefly tonight to introduce myself to you and hopefully to begin a conversation with those of you I haven't yet had a chance to meet. Just to tell you a little bit about who I am, I grew up in North Carolina. I was raised by my mom, who was a single mom, in Chapel Hill, and attended North Carolina public schools. Today I live with my wife, Megan Burke, and our 2-year-old son in the East End neighborhood of downtown Asheville. I'm a minister in the United Church of Christ, and I'm the executive director of the Campaign for Southern Equality, which is based here in Asheville and works across the South promoting LGBTQ equality. I first moved to Asheville in 2002, and it immediately felt like home to me for all the reasons that North Carolina feels like home to me. I am in this unique position of running unopposed, so I have the opportunity to be thinking ahead about how I will begin service on County Commission, and just want to briefly share with you what will be the 2 guideposts for how I approach that role. The first will be helping to pass policies in Buncombe County that help every single person in our community thrive, with a special eye towards the kids in our community and those who are struggling. 1 in 4 children in Buncombe County are living in poverty, and that has to change. It's a moral crisis, and we've got to come together in new ways to address that by expanding pre-K, by continuing robust support for our schools, and a longer list of policy items I'd love to talk with you about. The second guidepost is being committed to what I call a politics of empathy. That means that in every interaction with every community member, with the colleagues that I'll be honored to serve with, I will come to that from a place of empathy. That's something my faith teaches me. It's something I learn again and again the value of each day living as an LGBT person in the South and a gay Christian minister. You can imagine the kinds of conversations I find myself in, and I find empathy to be the best basis for those. So that's a bit of what you can expect from me. I want to finally close by just saying how much I respect everyone seated up here tonight and thanking all of you for your tireless service.
I'll second those comments about service and respect. The folks up here may disagree on how to achieve ends, but there's no doubt in my mind that we all have the best interests of Buncombe County sincerely in their heart. And we appreciate you offering yourself up for service. It can be rough at times. Okay, let's get going. We will start with the candidates for chair. Do that in alphabetical order. And that puts you, Chuck Archer, on the table.
Good evening. I want to thank the Asheville Citizen-Times for hosting this tonight and for all of you participating, especially our South African couple back here. They're here to get educated on democracy and what we do. And this is a fascinating process. Let me start by saying I'm not a politician. I've never held political office. I've been a business person for the last 36 years, but I've had a keen interest in what has happened with our government, and to be honest, I've been a little bit disappointed with the level of discourse and disagreement. My belief is that people, even if you come from different points of view, should be able to sit down and come to reasonable conclusions and reasonable solutions to problems. And what I don't want to see happen is for us to create issues that drive us apart. I want to do things to bring people together. A little bit about myself. I moved here 19 years ago with my wife of 34 years, Ann, and our 4 daughters. We raised them here. The youngest is now a senior in college. And so I've kind of got a little bit of the empty nest. My wife and I decided a number of years ago that we needed to make life happen. She's gone back to school. She's now in a nursing program at Western Carolina University. And I'm trying something totally new, which is entering the political arena. A little bit about myself. First of all, I'm a man of faith. I'm very active in our church, an elder at Arden Presbyterian Church, and that faith provides kind of a foundation for decisions. And those decisions, the first is you love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and spirit. And the second is you love your neighbor as yourself. Everyone here in Buncombe County, regardless of what their political beliefs are my neighbor, and I'm going to love them. I have 36 years of business experience. I'm a CPA. I started with a large international accounting firm. I was chief financial officer for a division of Dun & Bradstreet. Our budget was larger than Buncombe County. I know what a large organization looks like. I know how to manage it and how to work within that on an effective basis. At the same time, I'm also a small business owner. I had a CPA practice here in town, a title insurance company down in Tampa, Florida. I've done a little bit of development. I developed regional medical park at Sweeten Creek and I-40. From that, ended up going into real estate investment and currently operate a real estate investment company. I know how to sign both the front and the back of the paycheck. And I think that's extremely important when we're dealing with taxpayers' money. Every dollar that is earned, or every dollar that is taxed, is first earned by citizens in our county. And so when we spend those dollars, we have to do it with a lot of thought and a lot of good consideration and a real good, transparent process. I believe that there's a number of things that we need to concentrate on. First of all is that financial responsibility and transparency. One of the things that I learned early on in my career as a CPA is you go in with what we refer to as professional skepticism. You look at the numbers, you look and you start asking questions. And you ask questions to try to find out what's really below those numbers. What is the meaning behind it? What are they really trying to accomplish? And you learn a lot of things. It's professional in that you don't assume that something is wrong, but you ask questions so you can dig in and find out what is right. So that transparency related to finances is extremely important. I also think that we need to address the traffic problems. We've been dealing with the I-26 connector for at least the last 15 years and the widening of I-26 from Hendersonville to Asheville. That's something that has been funded on 2 different occasions. One time that money was reallocated down to the Charlotte bypass, another time down to Fayetteville. We need to get the money here. We need to solve the traffic problems. It will really benefit all of us, not just the frustration, but it also helps us environmentally. Instead of having cars sitting on the interstate, you've got cars passing through efficiently and effectively. I also believe we need to support our core government services. That's basically the schools, public safety, and then the Department of Health and Human Services. We need to fix problems. Am I done? So, thank you very much.
Brownie Newman.
Hey, good evening. It's great to see everyone tonight. Thanks for coming out. Thanks to the Citizen Times for hosting this and for AB Tech for having us on their campus. My name is Brownie Newman. I'm serving on my 2nd term on the Buncombe County Commission, and I am the Democratic candidate for chair of the County Commission. My wife Beth and I live in the Montford neighborhood, and we have 2 daughters, Tess and Lizzie, who attend our great local public schools. I grew up on a working farm in Pickens County in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm a graduate of Warren Wilson College. For the past 8 years, I have worked in the solar energy industry as the Vice President of Business Development for FLS Energy. I helped our company grow from 7 employees to more than 70. We developed and constructed the first utility-scale solar farm in western North Carolina, which is on a retired landfill in Canton. And since then, I've helped develop more than 40 solar farms across North Carolina. Last year, I started my own solar company. As county commissioner, I have worked to focus our resources on the core priorities facing our county. And first and foremost among those is making sure we have great public schools. Prior to 2012, there had not been a new school built in Asheville in more than 30 years. Since 2012, we have invested in and constructed 3 new public schools, the new Asheville Middle School, Isaac Dixon Elementary, and the new intermediate school in Inca. We also opened the Nesbitt Discovery Academy, which is the first science, technology, engineering, and math STEM school west of Charlotte. We've also increased our supplemental pay for our hardworking and great public school teachers to make sure we can attract and retain the best educators to serve in the classrooms. To build a strong local economy, we need local government to be fiscally responsible. When I was first elected in 2003, neither the city of Asheville nor Buncombe County had a AAA credit rating. Now they both do. As chair, I will also make protecting the ecological health and natural beauty of our mountains a high priority. Buncombe County has the most successful initiative in North Carolina to permanently protect family farmlands, and I will support the expansion and continuation of that initiative. As County Commissioner, I helped pass our policy committing Buncombe County to an 80% reduction in our carbon pollution, and we are off to a strong start in achieving that goal. I also supported the creation of the Energy Innovation Task Force, which is a partnership with the city and private sector to take steps to avoid the need to construct the proposed Duke Energy peaking power plant in Asheville, which will be good for the environment and good for North Carolina ratepayers. It's the responsibility of the chair of the county commission to listen to and represent all the people of Buncombe County, and if I'm elected, I'm committed to that. When you come to the county commission, you will be treated with respect and listened to regardless of where you stand on the issues. Thank you for the chance to be here today. I ask for your support, and if elected, I look forward to working with all of you.
Thanks, Brownie. For District 2, we have incumbent Commissioner Mike Fryer.
I'm Mike Fryer. I've been on the board for this 4 years, so I've done one term. Enjoyed every minute of it, and I hope to go back. But the thing, I've lived in Buncombe County for 53 years. I came here in 1963. There's been a lot of changes during the period. There's some that I like, there's some that I don't. But the main thing is I've been a business person for 34 years in Buncombe County. I built stock car engines. I worked for a gentleman named Banjo Matthews. That's where I got my start many years back. Met my wife, went into business, building race engines. She's been a part of making what I am. When I decided to try to run for county commission, I came before commission many times before I ever became a commissioner. I have saved money before I was commissioner by finding perks and all kinds of things that were happening into commissioners. I've saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. We had a AB Tech. I'm proud to be on the board over here at AB Tech, but I've always said when Hank Dunn was president here, he wanted a building that's over there now that was going to cost $54 million. I said I didn't want fluffing, but I wanted the people, the taxes that they would have, just bricks and mortar. That $54 million, I'd have $38 million with more room capacity than it had to start with. So that was $16 million savings. We ended up with a parking deck for $13 million. All I do is try to physically look at the dollars and cents of Buncombe County to try to save where we can, not hurt the people in the process. That's where I'm at. I don't want to hurt anyone. I want everybody to have what they need. It's not what you want. There's issues up here that we'll discuss tonight that we probably possibly don't agree on. I agree that people that want to put their land in a conservancy should be able to. But I don't think it's the taxpayers' prerogative to use taxpayers' money to help them put it in a conservancy. That's me. I want all of the farmers to be able to, I know farmers that's got dairy farms all the way down. This is a county that I was raised in. I was raised toward the Reynolds District, and over the mountain, and in the Prairie View. That's where I'm from. But I'm going to continue to try to save money. About $5 million. We're going to sell AB Tech, Lincoln Campus. It's going to spend $5 million. It's going to spend $6 million. They spent $500,000 of the quarter-cent sales tax. That $5 million come back to this campus. $5.5 million. There was money that was in a fund balance here that was basically to repair stuff. Well, fund balance was a little bit too high, so we took $2 million from it. So we've saved another $6 million for the county. That's the county's money. Then right now, everybody knows the mountain housing thing on Eagle Market Street has not been completed. The crane's been there for 2 years. Don't know if it's going to be completed. But basically, I went in and asked the commissioners, let's fix this so that they do not get the $2 million till the project is done. So that's one more thing that I've done. But I'm proud to be a commissioner. I'm proud to be part of AB Tech. I want all the kids, school kids, to have what they need, and that's exactly where I'm at. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mike. Also a candidate for District 2, Nancy Niels Nelson.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to thank the Citizen Times for allowing us this opportunity, and for AB Tech, where I used to teach, by the way, for allowing us to use Ferguson Auditorium. I used to be sitting out there probably sleeping sometimes, but we're here today to listen to our candidates. I am Nancy Niels Nelson, and I'm the Democratic candidate for County Commissioner in District 2, which runs from Leicester. It runs through Barnardsville and Weaverville. It runs down through Black Mountain and Montreat. It goes down Highway 9, touches Swananoa a little bit, gets down to Fairview, Arden, Fletcher, and ends up in Broad River. It's the largest district in this county. It has over 66,000 voters. Actually, 60 of them are active. And so right now we have that pretty evenly divided between among Republicans, unaffiliated, and Democrats. It's a very volatile, it's a very exciting, it's a very energetic district here in Buncombe County. I'm a farmer, Bell Laboratories project manager. I worked for Bell Labs for 25 years. I have degrees in both consumer psychology and in project management. I grew up in a family of 2 Army World War II veterans. My mother was an Army nurse, and my father was kind of like Radar from MASH. But the thing I remember most about my childhood was in 1953 we got our first TV. We started watching national elections, and we watched both parties. And what I remember as being a politician is you look for a politician who could work across the aisle, who could negotiate, who could look for consensus, and look for what the good is for the community. And I had differed with Chuck, because Chuck said he's not a politician. Well, I've never run for anything either. I'm 68 years old, and I am a politician because I want to be a leader in Buncombe County. When I moved to Buncombe County, I thought that this was going to be a different life. I had been laid off by the phone company, and I had an opportunity to start anew. And so what I did do is get very involved in the community, and my participation in the county was mostly with land conservation issues. John Aker and I both joined the Buncombe County Land Conservation Advisory Board in 2004, and since that time we have saved over 17% of the property in this county from development. Some of that is in county easement, some of it is with other private organizations. But I firmly believe that one of the things that Buncombe County has to continue to do and continue to lead the state of North Carolina is to watch our open lands and our farmlands and make sure that they are not overdeveloped. And that is going to give us a basis for a strategic, strong economy in the future. And I'm not talking next year, I'm not talking 2 years, I'm talking 10 and 20 years. And so this is one thing I feel very, very committed to. My top platform, though, is education, because I think that builds out and it affects not only the education of a child, but it also it affects our public economy in terms of what we spend on public health and on public safety. Right now in Buncombe County, we spend about $8,000 per year per child. We spend over $20,000 a year to house somebody in our prison for the year. Now, go figure where the money is better spent. And so I feel that not only is it the foundation of making sure our county is managed wisely, but it also gives us good citizens. That's my very top priority. And then the other 2 are county services, and the third is the land use, as I said. But what do I see? Why I got involved in this is because I looked at how the money was being managed by the county and which direction the county was going in. And I was really concerned that this county was on the road of killing the goose that laid the golden egg. Because for all these apartments and all of these beautiful hotels that we're building here, we have a sound economy in our in our county commission. And yet, what we need to do is make sure that when people look out of those hotel windows and they look out at our beautiful mountains and they look at the wonderful streams and they do all the recreation, that they are not filled with infrastructure and subdivisions. We have people who live here in this county who their lives need to be protected. I'm Nancy Niels Nelson, and I'm running for County Commissioner in District 2, and I need your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, moving on to District 3, where we have 2 seats up, and we'll start with Joe Belcher, the incumbent commissioner.
I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. I want to thank the Citizen Times for this opportunity to be able to speak, tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Joe Belcher. I moved to Buncombe County from West Virginia in 1980. I'm a product of the coal fields of southern West Virginia. Scared to death of the coal mines, went to college and left and went back and still love the people. But I've lived in the mountains all my life except for 2 years. I love the mountains for who made them and for what I see when I look out the window. And I'm proud to be part of Buncombe County. I'm a Christian since the age of 16. I'm a deacon in the Baptist Church in Candler. My wife, Rita, spelled R-E-T-A. I've been married to her for 41 years, and she was actually my first date. We dated for 4 years, so it's been one of those lifetime situations for me. And I think for the most part, she's been grateful for that. I have a daughter, Leslie, and a son, Joseph. I have 3 grandchildren. First is Caden, he's 10 years old, and we have a new baby sister he does called Fern Valley, named after his great grandmother. And we have a beautiful adopted child by the name of Andrew Josiah, who just turned 10 years, and that's my son and his wife Haley's child. I was in the manufacturing modular industry for 35 years. 28 years of that I spent with Clayton Homes in Knoxville, and lived here and traveled all over the country from Williamsburg, Pennsylvania to Orlando, Florida, to Bullhead City, Arizona, opening locations, helped grow the company from 80 stores to 400 stores, trained thousands of sales and management people. I had 150 stores. I had a budget of $300 million I was accountable for, as well as 1,000 employees. I'm running for re-election for my second 4-year term for District 3, which includes Sandy Mush, Candler, Avers Creek, Gilmore Forest, Mills Gap Road South. It's pretty big. It's not as big as District 2. I am familiar with all of those people. I know the people in Sandy Mush. I know the people in Gilmore Forest. I'm out there. I'm in the schools. I'm helping these people that volunteer. I'm in the churches and spending time with these great people. Again, one of the differences with me and some of the others is I am currently in office, so I can tell you that I'm a strong supporter of job growth, beginning with one of the most challenging saving of 300 jobs at GE Aviation and keeping them in our great city and county and state, up to the most recent job announcement of Avidim Technologies, 551 jobs in the eastern part of the county. Very proud to be part of that. That also one of the largest it's been quoted in a decade. Also supported law enforcement and EMS, including our training center, gun range, improving training throughout both of those, increasing student resource officers in elementary schools. Also a supporter of an initiative called RAMP, Raising Awareness for Manufacturing Possibilities, and our CTE training in our schools, which allows us to be able to have an opportunity for those that may not be able to go to college, or college may not be a fit. There's a possibility with advanced manufacturing in our county for them to actually go to work right out of college or with a little bit from AV Tech for a $15 to $20 an hour job. And I'm trying my best to get that message out. I'm a strong supporter of education, public education, including our first STEM high school. Also the Asheville Middle and Isaac Dixon schools, and doing them in a practical way, actually saving as much as $10 million from the beginning amount to where we ended up with. Also championed raises for supporter of teacher supplements and championed raises for teacher assistants. It took about 3 years, but we all finally came together and was able to take care of that. I'm very pleased with that. We were able to cut those ribbons on 3 schools in 1 week. Was able to attend all of those intermediate schools, and that's dear to me because my grandson started in that school this year, and I was a strong advocate for that, helping with the property and actually saving $200,000 on it. I believe that if you combine infrastructure needs in advocating for those with strong education, then that equals jobs in Buncombe County. BelcherForCommissioner.com. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next up, Ed Hay.
Thank you. A quick local civics lesson. There are 3 districts, 1, 2, and 3. Each district has its own, has 2 people representing them on staggered terms. District 3 this time around has 1 4-year term, presently held by Joe Belcher, and another 2-year term, which is the leftover from Miranda Brewer's resignation. David King is running for that one. I'm running for District 3 for the Joe Belcher seat. I'm not running against David. We're running together. We're not running for the same seat. We're running for separate seats. That's your civic lesson for today. My name is Ed Hay, and I am, as you know, I'm now running for District 3. My family, we're in our 6th generation of living in Buncombe County. I've been here all my adult life. I'm a lawyer, and I've spent just about all that time actively engaged in community projects. I've served on boards from Fiscal Legal Services to Help Make, to the Economic Development Commission, the ABC Board, and on and on. I spent 6 years on the Asheville City Council, and that's the primary experience I bring to this job. I'm running this time because I think that we're at a historic moment in Buncombe County history. David Gant has done a terrific job in running our commission for the last 8 years. He's been on the commission much longer than that. But he's not going to be running again. Brownie is running for that spot. It is an opportunity to reshuffle the interest on the Buncombe County Commission to make sure that we have the right people doing the right things on the commission. It's especially important now because at this point in time, the county is facing issues that it's just simply not had to deal with before. Our schools are under attack from Raleigh, and we need to do what we need to do on our end to make sure that we've got strong, safe schools for our children to attend. That's an issue that the county commissions have not had to deal with directly before, but it's in front of them now. Another issue that comes up is the question of job creation. There was a study done recently that said that we have a robust economy now. We're doing a great job now, but we are dead last in the state in terms of being prepared to attract the new jobs for the future. We need people who are creative, who know what they're doing, who can bring some inspired leadership to those efforts for the county, because that is going to set the agenda job-wise for us for the next generation. Also, and we hear this everywhere we go, we're facing explosive growth in the county. Everybody knows that. I live in South Asheville. We've been there for 17 years. We know what growth is all about. And it's happening throughout the county. People, it's on the minds of everyone, from their daily drive to what they see next door neighbor doing. We need to make sure that the county is in a position to manage that growth in a proper way. Growth itself is a good thing, and we should welcome it, but it needs to be directed, and the county government needs to take responsibility for making those decisions. Also, we need to protect the interests of the people who have an expectation that their interests will be protected. County government needs to be doing that. So there are lots of issues, but right now the county is facing a change that will be with us for many, many years. I learned when I was on the Asheville City Council just how important local government is in people's lives. It makes a big difference in what happens to you, to your children every day in a way that other levels of government don't reach down to. What we do on the commission is important, and I'd like to be part of that. And quite frankly, I think we need some commissioners that we can trust with our future. So my name is Edward Hay. I'm running for District 3. I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. David King, you're up.
Good evening. I'd like to thank Citizen Time for this forum and thank you for coming out this evening. I am David King. I am running for the other seat in District 3. I'm a native of Buncombe County. I was born and raised here, went through the public school system, went through AV Tech and Western Carolina University. I served on the county commission from 2012 to 2014. I also have a small business background in retail and real estate, and also I'm a self-employed farrier at this time. I also worked for 20 some odd years in manufacturing, so I have a manufacturing background in purchasing, planning, and supervision. But when I was on the Board of Commissioners, I sought out a couple of other boards I wanted to serve on. One of those was the Economic Development Coalition, because I felt like jobs were important and I had something to bring to the table in working with recruitment of jobs. The other one was the Riverfront Redevelopment Board, a very crucial part of the continued redevelopment of the Asheville city area. At the other, I sat on the Health and Human Services Board, and I wanted to understand a little more about what was needed from a human standpoint in the county as well. And so that's why I'm seeking to be on the board again, is I want to continue this work that I started. You've heard about growth, you've heard about jobs, you've heard about education. Education is also a major component of my position. I supported the schools while I was there, will continue to do so. But probably the biggest thing facing us is the growth issue, and actually it may not seem like it to you, but we're kind of in a sweet spot on growth. We have enough growth that we're not dying as some of our surrounding counties are. There is struggling for population, but yet we're not faced with the extremely explosive population that you would find in Wake County and Orange County and those down east. But it is vital that your leadership and your elected officials approach this growth in a manner that causes the least amount of impact on your lives. We need to make sure that we are doing all we can do from an infrastructure standpoint of making, because all of us have sat in the traffic, all of us have been delayed. We need to address that, but we also need to address things that the coming generation, the millennials want, and that is our greenways. That is multimodal transportation, such as sidewalks, such as bike lanes and paths, and I know you've all probably gotten frustrated with that at times, but we need to address those things because they are coming, they're a part of our life, and at this time of the year, as we go toward October, I can't help but think about one of our famous sons from Buncombe County, Thomas Wolfe, and he said that, and look home as you can't go home again. And what he was telling us is that we can't go to the past. We can't live in the past. We have got to live in the present, which is now, and in the future. So we need elected officials that will work for the future needs and not the past. And I hope that you will consider me. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And with our final introductory comments, Mr. Robert Presley.
Hello, and thanks for having us here, Asheville Citizen Times. I've been in the paper a couple times back in my career, the Asheville Speedway being able to make the headlines several times. But I'm Robert Presley. I'm running for District 3 County Commissioner. I was raised here in Buncombe County. 57 years I lived here. Don't know if it'll get brought up later on, but I was not born in Asheville. I was born in Washington, D.C. Lived there for 10 days. So 57 years I've been here, raised here. Brownie's writing it down. So I knew that probably would come up sometime that I was not born and raised here, but I've been here all but 10 days of my life. I'm married to my wife Gina for 32 years. I have 2 kids, 3 grandkids. Worked for Coca-Cola for 14 years before starting my racing career. Started at 15 years old. So that's why jobs are very important to me for the young and the middle age to survive here. I'm a owner of a small restaurant now, Celebrity Hot Dogs. After quit racing, raced for 30 years. After retiring, I had to have something to do, so started a small business. And learned what it was really like on the other end from the racing end. Throughout my career, I won a lot of races, but now it's time. This is the most important race I'm in for county commissioner, and I want to win. People ask me, why do you want to do this? After everything I've done, it's for my kids, not the past. I love the past of Buncombe County. I have seen a lot of changes here, but the growth is what it is. But I want my kids to be able to enjoy it. No, we're not going to go back. I don't want to go back to what we was doing. Someone had quoted that I wanted to go back 50 years. I mean, I don't know how we could ever go back. I'm looking for the next 50 years for my kids to enjoy what I have enjoyed here. Schools, education is very important to me. I grew up in a public school. My kids went to public school. I have family members that's teaching. And the one thing I hear from them is we need the tools for education. The teachers have got to have the tools to give the kids what they need. People say, what does racing have to do with running for county commissioner? Budgets. They give us a budget to work with yearly in NASCAR. We went out, we found the money to go out here to race. $20 million a year is what it took. We couldn't spend $30 million to race because the next year we would not be there. We would not even finish the year out if we did not budget out our money that we had. Jobs, we need jobs in Buncombe County. We need to bring industrial in. Roads, everyone knows our roads are a problem. Hopefully our government can fix that. I'm Robert Presley, District 3. I look forward to serving you. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to the question section of the forum. Candidates, try to keep your answers to a minute if you can, just so we can get through everything. I had a two. I stand corrected. Two. But we'll hold you to that. Keep an eye on Casey. She's keeping time. Had a pretty big announcement yesterday out in Black Mountain regarding jobs. And we've all talked about jobs, and just briefly, how would you more jobs here, and what are your thoughts on the use of economic incentives? And we'll start with you, Mike.
Is this working? Now it's working. Yes, jobs, economic incentives. I've never really liked them, but that's something the feds, the state, and the county does. And the numbers that we're putting into them is fine. Because as Mr. Belcher spoke earlier, the GE deal was 54 jobs, but that wasn't the true deal. It was to save 300 and add 54, plus a new plant. I'm for that. The new business that just came in, the other night, a diamond company that does diamond tip stuff came before us, $54,000. They spent $4 million in to add more jobs. They're supposedly going for 25 jobs. Ended up with 35 people working. So that was more than what they'd anticipated. So yes, $55,000 is good because that comes back in the form of taxes over a 5-year period on the property. So you can't be for it all the time. You can't give away, but we got to help the small businesses in a way, just like the 55,000 local business. The big companies like GE and all of them, the company that just came, they're basically a startup company. 7 years is where they've been, and they come in here, and that's 220 acres worth of property in District 2 district out there where they're going to put this. And, it's all worked out. It's going to be a great deal. 551 jobs. So that brings more to this county. And Just want to know the people out in that area, they look at me and they say, we don't need any apartments, we need jobs. And I've been trying my hardest to try to get some plant on Buncombe's property for a long time. And that's, that's the way that I look at it, so.
Thank you. Nancy Mills Nelson, second question.
Thank you very much. Yes, I absolutely support the county using an incentive program. I have watched for the past 4 years, the county continue to not always have a 7-0 vote when it comes to offering incentives for different manufacturers and different companies coming to this site. And I hope, is this gonna be given to other people, the same question, like for Brownie or for,
Yes.
okay, good, all right. And because not as a sitting commissioner, I can't quote what the commission has done over the past 8 years. But I can tell you that there have been a number of 4-3 votes when job incentives have come up and business incentives have come up. And we certainly want those things passed. And when we are competing with other locations for large manufacturers and large employers, for instance, the Sierra Nevada Brewery or for the New Belgium Brewery, when we have those people standing out as Ken Grossman did in the middle of an open field with his son and saying, is it going to be here or is it going to be somewhere else? And the son's saying, Dad, I want to be here. This is where I want to raise my kids. The job incentive programs that Buncombe County has, they say that there has to be a 3 to 5 year payback. It depends on the amount of money that is invested by the company. But I look at this in a different way too. When Ken Grossman's son made that decision, he didn't make that decision in a vacuum. He looked around the county and why did he want to be here? Why did he want to raise his family here? It's those other issues of making sure we take care of our county, make sure we have good schools that feeds that incentive program. So yes, I do support incentives. I do support the way the county commissioners have used it for the past 4 years.
Okay, Joe, is your microphone on?
I will turn it on.
You gotta look over your glasses the way that I did. Y'all have to excuse me, that's the result of age, so I know it's a bit annoying. So, Rick, would you repeat the question, please?
How would you lure jobs, and what are your thoughts on the use of economic incentives?
Okay. All right. So, I can speak to the fact of incentives. And the first thing you do in job creation is you create an environment that makes it easy for people to win. You're not trying to advertise for folks or anything like that. They've got to want to come to Buncombe County for a combination of reasons. One is they got to love the area. The other thing is the job, the core jobs, and the training has got to be here. I have had many of companies that's come here and say that the reason they came here is because of quality of the workers. We have a culture in the mountains of hard work. And those that have moved here seeking to grow in the mountains have also have that work ethic. And so we got to continue to work on something I mentioned before about CTE training, AB Tech, making sure that we have great people to fill these positions. If we don't, they won't come here because it's a difficult place to site locations here in the mountains. So easier in Henderson County, easier in some of the other counties, difficult in Buncombe County. I have voted for every incentive except for one, and I'll tell you about that. But each incentive, my requirement for an incentive, I'm like everybody else, I would just as soon not have to do it. But my requirement is that the amount of the incentive per year must be less than the taxes that they will be paying. So it nets the taxpayer money. I have not been a supporter of incentives to the beer or alcohol industry, so therefore I have voted against one. And that's I have several reasons for that and why I did that. But we must be willing to educate, teach, train, have a great job source where the companies won't come here. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed?
I'd like to go back to something I mentioned in my earlier speech, which was that we recently had a study done by the Institute for Emerging Issues, which was looking at our preparedness for a new generation of industrial and job opportunities. And basically, the study said that we presently have a robust economy, that we're attracting industries now very well because of quality of life and all the other things. However, we're not prepared to move into the future, and that we're going to be bypassed by those companies that are looking ahead further than we are. We need some experienced and talented people to come in and help us devise a strategy that's designed to capture those industries, the ones that are making products that we don't even know about yet, but that are next on the agenda, next on the horizon. So that we need to be very careful and very purposeful about seeking out the new generation of jobs, in addition to all the other things with job creation that we do.
Okay, same question, David King.
Yes, I do support incentives. They're indispensable. I voted every time for an incentive package. I can tell you the way Buncombe County structures their packages for incentives, there is a return on that investment. Incentives are also used not just for recruitment, but for retention. And GE was one of those that was a retention incentive. We're not talking about just jobs when we talk about this. We're talking about people's lives, people's well-being. The thing that struck me throughout all of those negotiations and all of the back and forth on GE is out of the district that I live in, I had an individual say to me who worked at GE that he and his wife both worked there, and that if GE had left, then they both would have been out of a job. And they're small farmers, and it would have taken their farm most likely. So when you're thinking about these, you're not just thinking about, is this dollars and cents exclusively? No, this is about the people who reside here in Buncombe County. These are your neighbors, these are your family, your friends. So I certainly will continue to support that. Also, part of the package is not just the incentive, but as Joe said, it's the environment we live in. They're looking for the schools, they're looking for recreation, they're looking for restaurants, they're looking for all of the things that you would be looking for in a quality place to live. I've had the opportunity to sit in on some of these wooings, if you will, of potential companies. And it even gets down to, they talk about what their wife like to be here or their husband like to be here. So it's vital for us to maintain what we have here and work hard. You know, the city is a very important component of drawing. The Buncombe County and the city of Asheville, we are not mutually exclusive. We are in a symbiotic relationship, and we all have to prosper and do well, just like the new factory and the new business out in Swannanoa. People in District 3 benefit from that just as much as the people from that district. So we're going to survive and succeed as a county.
Ronald Presley.
Thank you. With me being on the board and seeing a lot of what's going on, you know, incentives is great. We can give incentives, but I also agree that the return must offset it to a minimum there, that we're not just spending money. And educating our workers, I mean, for jobs to come in here. You know, we've had a lot of jobs to leave Buncombe County over the years. I've been here and seen them go. We need to take care of the businesses that are here now and continue our growth. The small businesses, you know, they seem to never ask for anything, but they're generating a lot of jobs, you know, that are coming into here. I think Mike Fryer was telling me AB Tech started a flying school classes, and I think that's very important with the Asheville Airport, you know, expanding, you know, changing the runways and everything. Because if you can fly, me racing, we flew everywhere. If you can fly in these mountains, you can fly anywhere. So I think that is very important right there of what's happened. And apartments, we all know in our district. I think something like 31,000 room apartments just in my District 3 there has come in. We need these people to have jobs.
The candidates for chair, will start with you, Brian.
The announcement this week by Avidin to create up to 551 new jobs in Buncombe County over the next 5 years is certainly a milestone. It's one of the biggest economic development projects we've seen in decades. So the company's headed up by a guy who graduated from UNC Asheville. I mean, it's a really great story, and I think it's going to be a great expanding company in our community. We have the lowest unemployment rate in North Carolina in Buncombe County currently, and projects like that will help make sure we stay there. Avidin will come to Buncombe County with an economic development policy in the coming weeks, and I plan to support that. I think there are two ways I would like to see the economic development policy updated going forward. Because we do have such a low unemployment rate, although we require any company that gets an incentive agreement with the county to pay living wages for all of those jobs, I think we need to raise the bar higher. Living wages should be seen as a floor, not anything like the ideal. That's just the basics. We should be focusing our partnership agreements with companies that are paying significantly higher than the average prevailing wages in the county. Because at this point, again, we don't just need more jobs, we need really good paying jobs that support families. So I want to see us change that. I'd also like to see us update the policy so that smaller and medium-sized companies can also participate fully in those economic development projects. It's currently set up to sort of encourage these larger manufacturing projects, which are great, but we are primarily an economy comprised of small businesses, and that is where most of the future jobs will be generated in this community.
I want to start by saying that philosophically I'm against economic incentives. I don't think that's a place of government. However, just because you don't agree with the rules doesn't mean that you can change them and still play the game. So it's a fact of life. Other cities, other counties provide economic incentives to companies to come in. We have to compete against them, and we're going to win. We can go and we need to evaluate how those economic incentives, what the payback is, what the benefits are to the county and to the taxpayer. It's not right for a small business to be sitting there having their competition get subsidized to move in and compete against them. You've got to be real careful with these things because it can hurt the taxpayer of Buncombe County. But economic incentives to provide jobs, to increase the tax base, I think is a very, very positive thing, but we have to do it in a very smart way and very carefully. The good part is we've got a great product. Buncombe County is absolutely beautiful, a lot of recreational activities. We have AB Tech that is supplying a lot of the educational needs that support what these companies need. We have a great product and we need to basically sell it. I've spent 36 years in business. I know how to talk to the companies. I know how to sit down and negotiate deals. And I think that I'll be real effective in helping us bring in good quality companies that generate good quality jobs that increase everybody's quality of life. It's not just bringing in jobs for jobs' sake. It's increasing all of our quality of life. And I think that we can be very, very successful.
Thank you. We'll start this next question out with David King. We have a revaluation on the horizon. What impact will that have on the citizens of Buncombe County? The tax revaluation, reval?
I haven't been part of that reval, but I can talk a little bit about it. I can tell you that it was triggered by state law. Once values drop or values exceed a certain, I think it's 85%, state law requires counties to do a revaluation on those. So that came about due to increasing property values in Buncombe County. I have not had the opportunity to look at the maps and see where certain growth and certain regression has taken place, but I can tell you in a very general manner what will happen is most likely in the city where values have been rapidly going up, you will probably see an increase in your property value, which results in a increase in property tax. There may possibly be in some of the other areas a slight decrease or a holding of the property value. So, I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I don't have any specifics on that because I haven't been part of it, but that is what will take place.
Mr. Presley?
Also, I have not been involved with it, but with the evaluation coming up, just pieces there, the city of Asheville, the property there is just skyrocketing right now. I see that could be something that's gonna hurt them people. And hopefully that as a committee can get together and maybe lower the tax dollar, with the increase, then have a decrease in it and help everyone. But the county may not suffer as bad as the people in the city, I don't think. So until I can get more information on it, I would rather just not say anything that I really don't know what's going on.
Okay. And again, just to kind of mix up the order, we'll bounce back to County Chair and Chuck Archer.
Thank you. The reevaluation of property for property tax purposes basically goes and ensures that everybody is paying quote unquote their fair share based upon the market value of the property or the tax assessed value. It is not a tax increase. It should not be a tax increase. One of my biggest concerns is when they do this process, first of all, is it a fair process? And from the briefings that I've had, it's a very rigorous process, very fair, and there are a lot of opportunities for taxpayers to go and appeal during that process if they don't feel like they're being treated fairly. And you have my assurance as chairman of the county commission that I will make sure that your rights are upheld in that respect. But if everybody has a fair evaluation, the property tax values are simply used to allocate the tax dollars. One thing that I want to be very, very careful with is that we don't go and hide tax increases with the change in valuations. We need to look at the total tax dollars as though the valuation didn't take place. All the reevaluation does is on how the tax dollars are allocated, but politicians a lot of times will go and the valuations go up, and so they automatically see an increase in the amount of taxes, and they just say, well, we didn't change your rates. Well, the rates, if the values go up by 10%, the rates ought to go down by 10%. We need to be real careful with that. So,
I agree with that description of the reevaluation process. It is basically a process of looking at what are the updated values of properties throughout Buncombe County to make sure that all the property taxpayers are paying their equivalent share based on the tax rate. So it is a distinct process from determining what the tax rate will be. It's just an update of the values themselves. And the budgeting process in North Carolina requires local governments to identify what a revenue neutral tax rate would be for the very purposes of transparency, such that taxpayers will know that if the county is lowering or raising the actual tax burden or to generate more revenue for the county, that will be disclosed. So I think everyone should rest assured that if the county decides to raise the tax rate or lower the tax rate, that is a separate decision. That is a decision-making process in and of itself. I think the general trends we're seeing in Buncombe County, we actually had a pretty detailed presentation about this at our county commission meeting this week. And property values in Asheville are mostly the areas that we're seeing a lot of growth. And that's good for you if you're planning on selling your property in the future. Of course, it's a burden from a property tax standpoint. So the rural areas in the county are much more sort of holding their value but not growing. So those are the trajectories that we are seeing. So neighborhoods like mine in Montford, we're probably going to get creamed, but our property values have gone up, so that's the way it goes.
Nancy Nichols Nelson.
Since I moved here in 2003, properties have been reevaluated a number of times. And as everyone up here has said, this is not a function of the county, this is a function of the state, as are many other things that people look at and say, okay, county, you do something about this. And in fact, we can't, because it's something the state does. My property has basically held up in Weaverville. And I think what Brownie just said is true, that we're seeing most of the property taxes or the property rates going up in the city of Asheville. Right now in District 2, I don't know how we're going to be affected on this, but the last 2 reevaluations, the property that I bought has basically stayed this, my taxes are within like $19 of what it was before. So I've not seen a great increase. What I'm concerned with though is what are we going to see in the next 10 and 20 years as we start growing out from Asheville, because Asheville can't handle the number of people who are coming here to live. And this is something that the County Commission has to look at. It has to evaluate the growth, it has to evaluate the land use, and that is one of the significant areas that I feel I can make some impact on the Commission.
The fact is, reval, if we don't reduce the tax rate, it automatically runs your taxes up. Because in 2013, your tax rate was 52.5 cents. Today it's 60.4 cents on 100. So basically, if you took a $200,000 house and you jacked it up 8 cents, you ended up paying $160 more in the last reval. The last reval was an 8-year deal. They kept it so that the property tax, they couldn't lose money in it and didn't have to run the property tax up. They were making money at the process. So now it's on a 4-year cycle again. If they leave it at 60.4 cents and say your property went back to what it was worth before the recession, that means you're going to add another $160 to that $200,000 house. So that means you're paying $320 over that period. If we don't move this 60.4 cent back down, West Asheville is going to get hit hard, I can tell you that, from what we saw the other night. And there's young people in this room that I spoke to, that the taxes in Buncombe County and the rent stuff, that they cannot afford to live here. That's not what we need. You know, we hear affordable housing, this and that. It's not happening. Our tax rate, we're one of the highest taxed because our property is probably overvalued, considered. There's a home that my wife's grandparents bought that she got. It was in 1978. They bought it for $17,800. So you take a 80-cent tax rate back then, that don't come up to much. But now it's almost a $200,000 property and probably getting ready to go up again. And it's like $2,100 county and city property tax. So that we have a problem. If we don't reduce the rate, you will be paying more taxes.
Joe Belcher.
So I will echo that the fairness of the process is very fair. What I will say that a lot more goes into revenue in Buncombe County than just property taxes, and that's very, very important. The Asheville outlets have generated. If I asked for a raise of hand, probably everybody raise their hand has been over there. Has generated a tremendous amount of additional sales tax for the county. That has come into our budgets. Also, the manufacturing that has been brought in. You're talking about incentives. Those people are now starting to pay taxes. That revenue comes in, so we're getting extra revenue in. So, also the tourism tax. It was recently increased, and awards given to places like the Inca ball fields, which possibly would have had to been funded another way, or not done at all, that actually is creating potential revenue that could be spent. Now, with that said, that's why when a reval occurs, that the tax rate, I believe, it is necessary for it to go down because of all the additional income that is coming in. If that rate does not drop, then chances are our spending is way too high. So I'm expecting when the reval occurs, I'm expecting some of the outlying areas, their property to be less, and some of the, as was already said, there'll be some others that will be more. But there will be hotels that have been completed. There will be other large-scale projects that will come online that will also be paying more of their share of the taxes, so that some of these people in the outlying areas will hopefully be paying less. But we have to take into consideration all this other income that's coming in order to fairly look at the tax rate. And so there's going to be quite a bit more income coming in this next year. It happened this year, and we're going to have to look very carefully at that tax rate.
Two quick thoughts, and everybody has covered the field pretty well on this subject, but it's my recollection, and my source on this is the Citizen Times, but my recollection that when the issue first came up, the staff report that they gave the county commissioners said that there was a disparity between the valuation of commercial versus residential property, and they felt like out of fairness it ought to be reappraised so that the homeowners would be paying less share of the total tax bill than the commercial, which has some promise, I think, for homeowners that their share going forward may be less than the commercial. The other thing is that we've talked a lot about growth tonight, and it's on everybody's mind. But one of the benefits of that is it represents new investment in our community, and new investment means higher taxes, so that our share of the tax burden goes down as the new investors have to pay more. It's particularly satisfying because lots of these new growth projects are by out-of-town developers, and to have some guy from Charlotte or Atlanta paying the tax bill feels like the right thing to do.
Yeah, you can give me the name of that guy.
Okay, nobody was name checked though, so we'll move on to our next question. Big question, a lot of people are talking about out there, raging debate, education funding. The debate mainly is pitched on what the state's doing, but how is the county doing regarding education funding? And can and should the county be doing more? And we will start off with Joe Belcher.
I think the commission has done a tremendous job in the funding of schools, being committed to teacher supplements, being committed to the smallest of incomes, which is some of the teacher assistants. And we have the ability to do what we want to do in Buncombe County. It is, though I have to react to the state or the federal at different levels, we have the ability to fund what we choose to fund, at what level we choose to fund. And what is included within that education funding is up to us, the school board, us working together in determining what are the needs in Buncombe County. And we are charged with meeting those needs. And I, for one, will enthusiastically do that, but in a practical way. And the examples have been the construction of the schools the last few years. The schools came in at a much higher level than they ended up. We're actually similar to AV Tech, what was mentioned earlier, in that the schools come in at a much higher amount. And so by saying no to the dollar but yes to the project, then we were able to get more for the students, a better facility with maybe with more features, and you just challenge architects and they come back with a better building. So I think the commitment for me is there, will always be there, and I think we are charged. When I go and look my grandson in the face, I do not want to have to tell my grandson that his papa did not support him or his school, and he keeps him pretty accountable.
Want to go to me? Okay, good. So I'm glad to hear that you're committed to additional funding for the schools. You've not voted that way in the past. And so for you to make a statement like that, I think is encouraging for the rest of us. As I said in my opening remarks, I feel like our county schools are under attack from Raleigh. Everything that comes down is meant to limit public schools. And we have to come in behind all that and do what we need to do to protect the schools, to make them as strong as we possibly can be, because we're the ones that have the stake in the outcome of those decisions. I think there's a limit, of course, to what county commission can do, but we can find creative ways to fund the items that need to be funded and to support the schools across the board. You know, it's an interesting thing to me, you know, to watch what used to be, you know, the pride of our nation, the public schools in North Carolina, diminish to the level that they're at now. And I think we all bear some responsibility for that, but it is also our responsibility to come in behind that and make a difference. It's going to take a while, but county commission needs to take responsibility for making the schools as strong as we can.
We got a name check here, don't
We did.
Okay, who got called out?
we?
You may respond, sir.
Thank you very much. So I've heard that from my opponent a couple of times already, and it is inaccurate. Everyone knows. You can go through the Citizen Times. You can check thousands of comments on Facebook on where I advocated for the Inca Middle School. If you can talk to the former superintendent of Asheville, they will tell you that I sat in meetings. As a matter of fact, with this gentleman to my left, we fought hard to make sure that those city schools happen, but at a lower dollar amount, to provide more for the children and to make sure that we were being responsible with your dollars. I will continue to do that. I advocated for 3 years for teacher assistant pay increases. It took 3 years for that to happen. I'm excited that they got on board with it and made it happen. But I have been involved in every school that has been funded, visiting, making sure that we move those forward and fighting for each one of them.
Okay, we'll kick it up to the chair candidates now. Chuck Archer.
Schools are the springboard for our kids for life. They're extremely important that we do a good job. The way that we evaluate how the school is doing is not by how much money we put towards it, but what is the outcome. So I think that we always have to be careful not to let our heartstrings, our desire to provide the best that we can for our kids, to get in the way of doing the right thing and making sure that we end up with the best results. And so while everybody will say, I'm for schools, we need to be careful with the funding to make sure that it is good, to make sure that it's money well spent, because those are tax dollars that have been earned by the taxpayer and taken out of their pocket. And that doesn't mean that I would be against the schools, not at all. I want to see quality education, and I want to see actually improved standards. And I think that we need to be looking at how our school system is doing as compared to where it's been in the past, as compared to national and state standards, and really evaluate and make sure that we're getting the biggest bang for the buck. We'll make sure the bucks are there, but let's make sure that we do a good job in the process.
Support for public education is a core business of county governments. Our county schools are funded a little bit by the federal government, mostly by the states and county governments. That is how we fund our public schools in North Carolina. I was very proud of our county commission this year to vote to support a recommendation from the Buncombe County School Board, with whom we work closely to look at how we fund our teachers and the school facilities themselves. The school board went through a very thoughtful, analytical process to look at how Buncombe County compares to the other counties in the western part of the state in terms of teacher pay. And we see that for our veteran teachers, we were really at the top. We were doing the best, but some of the other counties were actually paying a little bit more for the newer for the teachers who had not been working as many years. So they brought to us a very sound proposal to increase teacher pay to make sure Buncombe County was attracting and keeping the best teachers for our classrooms. The budget that was presented by the county manager to the county commissioners this year did not include a teacher pay raise. Because we were in the fortunate position of having a budget surplus by the time we were voting on the budget, the majority on the county commission voted to dedicate the majority of that budget surplus to provide a long overdue pay raise for our Buncombe County teachers. And I think there's just a big difference on this in terms of how the commissioners voted on this. There were two different proposals offered for how to use the budget surplus in our budget this year. The Republican commissioners voted to reduce the tax rate and not to provide the teacher pay raise. That proposal was voted down. I submitted an alternative proposal to keep the tax rate exactly where it was and to provide a pay raise for our teachers. And that was passed on a 4-3 vote, and all of the Republican members voted against it. And those are the facts that you can look up.
Is that a call out or not?
It wasn't by name, so I'm kind of.
All right, let it go.
Robert Presley.
School funding. School funding. I have family members that's teachers, and you know we have a lot to work with there. Our District 3, we have a couple old schools, Candler, Pisgah, you know, that sometime in the future hope that they get. We got the new Buncombe Middle School out there that is a great asset to us. But to keep our teachers, you know, we need to look at giving them a fair wage of what other surrounding counties are. But what I hear more than anything else is we need the tools for the kids, you know, to learn. That we have a lot of schools that have more tools than the other one. And for instance, my daughter-in-law's at one school and they have no computers there yet. Their grade scores is not high enough to get funded. And, you know, the future of Buncombe County is to generate jobs here. But we need the kids to be able to go on and be educated good enough to take these jobs.
Let me say unequivocally, I will support our teachers, our schools, and the educational institution. There is a limit on what the county can do, but we have to stretch that if it's necessary. Teachers, we hear about accountability, this type of thing, and they are. But you can't always measure success in terms of what a test score looks like. I can speak from experience. Many things that teachers do in the classroom are not borne out until many years later. There's a lot they do that goes beyond reading, writing, and arithmetic. And today that challenge is much greater than it was when I was in school. Teachers are dealing with huge numbers of homeless children. They're dealing with problems at home. So we're asking teachers to do an almost Herculean task. So it is incumbent upon us to support them, because if we don't, we're going to reap the benefits on the other end, because children who do not successfully get through school often end up in crime. They end up in the judicial system. There are social services pressures there. So it's a much better thing to put that money on the front end in education. Now, ultimately, it's up to you as the citizens, because this problem is coming from the state legislature. And since 2012, the Republican legislature has gone after education. And at some point, the citizens are going to have to say, enough, we want this changed.
Nancy Nichols Nelson.
I'm glad that David. Yeah. Hello. Okay. I'm glad that David King mentioned the state because I wanted to take a completely different tact in the answer to this question. Not being a seated commissioner, I can't comment except to say that I think the town has done the best job they can given the money and also what the state hands them. One of the things that in the time I've been campaigning, I've had the pleasure of being on the same forum with school board people, and I listen to what they say, and I listen to how they express their concerns about what's happening in our schools. My big concern is what David mentioned, and that is that our state is destroying our traditional public school system. And I'll be very honest about that. We are nowhere near the funding level that we were in 2008. And back in those days, we were in the top 10% of the way people thought of our education system, not only in the Southeast, but in the country. We are now 44th in the country in terms of support for public education. A lot of this has to do with the state's idea of privatizing education in this state. And they are bound and determined to get into to privatize public education. I can only say that I do not believe in vouchers. I believe in tax credits. I believe that Buncombe County has done the greatest job they can. And I'll also say the people sitting up here, Ronnie Newman, myself, David King, and Ed Hay have all been endorsed by the Buncombe County Association of Educators.
Ed? Did I miss you on the, okay. My check sheet was wrong there. Okay, Mike. I know you have.
Well, there's a little disagreement here. Mr. Newman, what he was speaking about in the meeting that we had is the Republicans did not have any money for the teachers. Well, it was brought forward, it was $1.6 million for the teachers. It was taken another $1.6 million out of Buncombe County's fund balance, which was $12.5 million. In that process, this was $5 million that came in 26 hours before the meeting. So we had money, but it left pretty quick. I got a note 15 minutes before I walked in the chamber from Mr. Newman, and he did put up here that he wanted to give the teachers a raise, but it's only half the raise. The other part of the raise would have been taken out of the fund balance of Buncombe County, and they got a $12.5 million one. So, but in his thing, he didn't have ink of metal opening it at 1.7 million, which we did, and we had 200 more thousand to open the new STEM school for the juniors. But in his, he had $1 million for I-26 to take $1 million out of this $5 million. And basically, I've got the note here what it reads. There's $1 million for that, and then he took another $100,000 for Greenway. Then he took $75,000 more for Amos, which is basically the old Colburn. And that's but saying that we didn't, we did vote against this because when he walked in, he didn't have in here any word about giving money to Inca. He didn't have any word about giving any money to the Science Center. His words, I've got it right here on paper. He gave money to everything, but we had a budget set that the teachers got paid in full, that supplements went to the teachers, the other people, and that's totally wrong. I am 100% for schools. I am 100% for the supplements. I had to vote against this because of what this was. It's a 10-minute deal, and it's $26 million, and it wasn't all on schools.
You may respond, Bernie.
Thank you. So on the day we voted on the budget, we did have a budget surplus, but it was not a budget surplus that arrived that we did not see coming. We had known for many weeks that the state legislature was working on legislative updates that would create additional funding that would benefit Buncombe County and would create this budget surplus. And that is why we worked over a period of several months actually with the school board to look at what we could do to increase teacher pay in Buncombe County. And we had multiple meetings on it, and it was a very reasonable, thoughtful, analytical process. There was more than just teacher pay voted on that night. But the key differences between the Republican proposed amendment to the budget and the one that we supported was that theirs lowered the tax rate, but included no money for increased teacher pay. Our proposal kept the tax rate the same, and instead of reducing the tax rate, we funded the teacher pay increase. That was the biggest difference. I'm not saying there weren't some other things in there too. We did put some additional funding in for greenways, and I think that's great. But the teacher pay was what 80% of our budget surplus was dedicated to in the budget that we voted for.
Okay, we're running a little bit late, so we're going to go ahead and go to closing statements, and we'll frame those around a question. We'll just start from Robert and work our way back here for this one. What's your vision of what you would like Buncombe County to look like when you're done with your term in office? You turn the lights off, close the door, walk away. What do you hope to do? What do you hope to see?
I hope to continue to see the growth that Buncombe County's got. Been here 57 years, and I can remember downtown 30 years ago and what it is today. Our Sheriff Van Duncan has done a tremendous job of making it safer here, and I compliment him. But the only reason why I want to run for county commissioner is I love Buncombe County. I could have had the opportunity to move out of here and go to Charlotte and a racing hut. But we live in a beautiful county. Asheville, Buncombe County is just tremendous to me. And, you know, my family's been here 5 generations, and we don't want to go nowhere. But whenever this term is over, I want to be able to go home and say I give the best effort that I could when I lay my head down at night, and know that this is nothing that Robert Presley wanted, nothing that the Republican Party wanted. It was the people of District 3 is who I'm listening to. You know, I am very, very concerned because I have kids and grandkids. And if we continue our growth of what we've got now, I think my kids will have a very happy future after I'm out of office. Thank you.
I have the perspective of having been born and grown up here. I remember Buncombe County from the 50s to present. I've seen it go through many changes. I've seen the time when downtown was it. There was not much more beyond that. I've watched it go down in the 70s. I've watched it come back. And today I'm very proud of where we are. I've watched the French Broad River become cleaner than it was. I can remember a time when you didn't go into the river. There was foam floating on the river from the paper mill in Transylvania County. What I would like to see as I finish up my term would be that it's a handoff to the next generation in a better shape than it is now, and that it continues to become a wonderful place to live. And I can't help but go back to Thomas Wolfe. He and my grandfather were born in October of the same year, and that generation saw a lot of changes, and they handed it to us at times in not so great shape, but they maintained it, and it's here today. And I certainly want to see a future for Buncombe County that's a wonderful place to live. People want to continue to move here, and the future generations have an opportunity to keep it the way it is, pristine, but yet moving forward into the future and living in the future. Thank you.
You know, when I go to church, the Democrats don't sit here, the Independents don't sit here, and the Republicans don't sit here. When I go out in the community and I shake somebody's hand, or I go help work on a playground, or I go help do this or do this within the school, I don't care about any of that. When the funding goes to someone or you give them a hand, they don't really care where it comes from. They just want to know they've been helped. I want to be able to finish this term keeping my head high as as I, in my heart, feel it is now. And be able to look at children and look at grandchildren and be able to run into people in Ingalls or wherever and be able to say that this is a great place to live. Keep your head up. To be able to talk to kids in schools and say it doesn't matter where you start, you can be anything you want to be. And to be able to continue to encourage those children, be able to encourage the public to be able to not get into, the divisive discussions that some of what you've heard tonight. When we go outside these doors, those people don't want to hear that. They want to hear that you're working for us, you're doing your best, you're a trusted man or woman, and we can look you in the eye and do that. And because of that, we're going to be all over the place on what we support if you're that way. You're going to support things by merit, you're going to support things based on need, and you're going to support things based on outcome. But I want people to trust leadership. I want them to be excited about the commission. I want them to be excited about what we're doing and what we've done. And I want us to be able to meet each other, and we do that. We leave this room. We'll shake hands, and we'll some of us will go and get something to eat together. But out in the community, they need to trust. They need to have trusted leadership. They need to feel good about going home. And one of the things I hope we can do is reduce worry and stress in Buncombe County by creating a positive message out there. Thank you.
In my opening remarks, I talked about it being a historic moment in Buncombe County history, and talked about that in terms of the challenges and the problems and the difficulties and the solutions we need to find. But there's another side to that as well. And we're now at a historic moment because we have opportunities that have never presented themselves to the county before. We're in a position right now where our robust economy, our dedicated community leaders all add up to an opportunity to move forward with something special. So my dream would be that when I'm through, that we look back and realize that Buncombe County is a national leader in terms of education, and our schools are the best in the country. And we look back and we realize that Buncombe County is a community leader nationally recognized when it comes to environmental protection and land use planning. I'd like Buncombe County to be a national leader in terms of job creation and industrial growth and the kinds of things that make the community strong. So that's where I would like to be, is a national leader, the kind of place that others look to for as an example of progress.
Well, my first 4 years here, I've enjoyed thoroughly. In my next 4 years, I would like to too. It's just like this building we're sitting in. I'm proud to be a part of things. But the one thing that I am proud of is in this building you have a lot of teachers, and there's a lot of kids that go through here, get 2 years degrees and stuff. I was very proud to go to Linamar and set up an event here because the people at Linamar said that they didn't need 2-year degree people for the CNC machines. They needed maintenance people. So now we have a maintenance site set up that in this building, not in this building, but on this campus, that will help do certificates, 4-month certificates, where people can do maintenance on equipment and actually do give us $250,000 grant to be able to buy some equipment so they could learn on this equipment. So now we're back to a technical school. Yes, what Robert was talking about, we do have an aviation class, but they didn't have an airport, but they did have a good pilot here. So he set up an aviation class. We have a lot of veterans in that. So it goes, and then they learn to fly at WNC, so they're utilizing the airport a lot now. The main thing I want to walk out is basically if you look at the numbers on the card, $29.5 million savings, that money can be spent in different areas, schools or whatever. That's what I try to do, is watch the tax dollars. I don't work one day. I work every day. That's my job as far as I'm concerned in the county. I'm retired. I don't work for just a sparse amount of people. There's 250,000 people in this county. And just like Joe says, it don't matter what party you're in. It's still your money. It's not ours. And you have to watch it every nickel that you possibly can. So I thank you. I appreciate you voting. I'd like to have another 4 years as you.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to also go back to my opening remarks when I said in 1953 I started watching national conventions on an old Zenith TV. And the things that made a good politician then, a good leader then, was the ability to work across the aisle, the ability to negotiate, the ability to reach consensus, and more importantly, to put community first. And so my dream is this: first of all, that the partnership between the state of North Carolina and the county of Buncombe becomes one of reciprocity, to make sure that what they want is what we want. And I don't think that we're there yet, and I'm hoping that in November, the people who are elected to be leaders in Raleigh will become more partners than adversaries, the way they have been in the last 4 years. Buncombe County has an opportunity to continue to grow. It has an opportunity to continue for its crime rate to go down, its AAA bond rating to continue, its debt to stay low. But we go right back to our schools and say that what we want to do with our children is to make sure that regardless of what kind of home they come out of, whether it's a middle-class home in West Asheville or it's a home of hopelessness out in the mountains, we want to bring up children that have resiliency, they have hope, they know that somewhere in their future that they can make it as a human being, and that goes back to community. So what I feel is, as your leader in District 2, that I will make those choices. I will make those very compelling choices between what an individual needs and what community needs. And to me, that's democracy.
My vision for Buncombe County at the end of my term is that we've improved our quality of life. And that is our day-to-day living that each and every citizen of Buncombe County experiences. That can manifest itself in a number of different ways. For example, it can be not having to sit in traffic that we're currently having to deal with. It can be better paying jobs because we've recruited the right companies to come in here to provide well-paying jobs for our citizens. It can be the students who have graduated and gone on to productive careers because we have quality education. I see that increase in quality of life going across the entire spectrum. That's my vision for Buncombe County. Personally, I want to see an accomplishment when I leave office of business practices of the county being really implemented and fine-tuned to a lot higher degree than they are now. Some of the business practices that I've been a part of for the last 36 years. I also want to see a degree of transparency that has not been present in the past that should be present in the future, because each taxpayer needs to be able to look at their representatives and know exactly what's going on and not having it done in a more secretive process. I guess I want to be able to take my talents, my experience as a CPA, my business experience, and apply it to improving the structure of our government so that we can move forward into the next century.
Great, thanks again for everyone coming out tonight. I'm excited about running for chair. This is the one seat on the county commission that all the people of Buncombe County can vote for and to represent the interest of the whole county. And I'm excited about the opportunity to do that. I think the two big challenges facing Buncombe County are whether we're going to be able to do what we need to do to make sure that this unique and beautiful place that whether you were born here or you moved here, you recognize as being one of the most beautiful places in the country, whether we can preserve that in light of the fact that we are a growing community and we're going to continue to grow in the years and decades to come. And the other fundamental question we're facing is whether or not, even if we can protect the environmental qualities that we all care so much about, can we make sure Buncombe County remains a great place for regular people to live and work and raise a family, and not just be a nice place for tourists to visit or for folks who have a lot of resources to enjoy this great quality of life. We do have a low unemployment rate, but average wages in Buncombe County are lower than the state average. And we are a more expensive housing market than other parts of the state. So a lot of people work full-time in our community and really are struggling. And so I think we have to work every day thinking about how we support the working people in this community, and I think we have to filter every decision that we make through that lens. And so the county government can't solve all of these problems. The tools in our toolbox are not unlimited, but there are things that we can do, and those are the issues that I have a real passion around that I will focus on as County Commission Chair. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2016 County Commission candidates. Let's please give them a big round. And I want to let everybody have their say, so let them go on a little bit. So instead of a half an hour, we need to get out of this building in about 7 minutes. However, the parking lot is open 24 hours. So. Any questions for a candidate, Graham? But thank you all for coming so much.
Thanks for opportunity.
How you doing?